back to Cinemavino. It's our next series, or our next episode in our series. This is the last one we're doing for tonight.
This is episode number 3.
We're a little bit sauced, or at least I am. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling sauced.
I'm fine.
I think it's a combination of the fact that, we got twin babies at home and not sleeping, so it's just like the lack of sleep and the presence of booze.
Wait, you have twin babies and you're not sleeping, or the twin babies are not sleeping?
Unfortunately, it's a combination of both.
Okay.
So it's like when they don't sleep, we don't sleep. So
they get to take shifts keeping you up?
Yeah. It's mainly just the boy. The girl's great.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, Lucy's great. Max is the one that doesn't sleep.
Huh.
So, yeah, there's that.
Stinker.
But yeah, I've heard that sleep deprivation mimics drunkenness. And so...
Oh, you get punchy real fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, apparently drunkenness mimics sleep deprivation. So we're just at a nice crossroads. Having just a dab-a-do time.
Double dip.
So this is our Back in Time series. For those just coming in, we're going back in 10-year intervals from 04, 94, 84, 74, 64. We're at 84 right now with Ghostbusters. We're doing all comedies, and all classic milestone comedies. So a little bit about the wine we're drinking. We're drinking Tikal. This is a Malbec Syrah. This is 60% Malbec, 40% Syrah from Argentina.
Vista Flore.
And I've been waiting this whole time to be able to say Argentina.
Argentina. There's a booby on the label.
Yeah, there is. That's why I picked it.
I bet it is.
It caught my eye. This is from the Mendoza region.
Don't turn the label, you perv.
Of Argentina. So Mendoza accounts for roughly 2/3 of all the wine in Argentina. And you'll see a lot of the Malbecs that come from there that are present in the United States from that region. These wines are grown at one of the highest elevations in the world at the Andes Mountains, at the foot of the Andes Mountains. So you'll see these at 6,000, 8,000 feet.
Is that the mintiness that I taste?
Yeah, it must be. The Andes mints.
Yeah. I get that little bit of mintiness,
This wine is biodynamic. I honestly have worked in a wine store for 15 years. I really want to know, I want a firm definition of biodynamic, so I looked it up. And biodynamic is similar to organic, but in the sense that in biodynamic, it is a self-contained ecosystem where they use fertilizer from that estate. They use feed for whatever livestock or animals they have on that estate. Everything is self-contained. It's all from there. They don't source anything from the outside.
It's certified biodynamic, so it's got to be there's some sort of certifying body?
Yeah.
Huh.
Organic, it can come...
Organic is a little bit of a squishy label.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And so biodynamic is actually a little bit stricter.
Interesting.
So it's it has to come from that estate. Organic, they can source fertilizer, they can source spray, they can source, feed and stuff from outside. But for this, it has to be like that within that farm. So there you go. Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
I learned that. So, Tikal, this is a Malbec Syrah blend. It will age well. This is the biggest wine that I think I drank tonight.
It's nice.
This is a steak wine. I know I've said other wines are steak wine. This is a steak wine. I've always thought Malbecs have a really earthy, mushroomy flavor to them. It's like...
Yeah, my God, I haven't had a straight Malbec for a long time.
Yeah. And I love them. Malbec is my go-to steak wine.
No.
I love that. If you guys can see, it's like the color of the Malbec.
Inky.
It's a dark purple, inky color. This is deep purple.
It's got a pepperiness to it.
Yeah. So I love a good Malbec, and I love it with a good bold meal. This is yet another wine they say goes well with lamb. And yet again, I'm going to say I don't eat lamb, so I'll take their word for it. For everybody out there who are fans of lamb, this is another one to think about. But this is another one that this will age well, and this will mellow out a little bit. This has a lot of bold flavor and a little bit of tannins to it. I think 4 or 5 years.
I want a stinky cheese with this.
Yeah.
A little bit of a blue cheese or a Asiago. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I think this would be very good with that. The Stoltman that we tried previously would be good with that, too.
A Stoltman with a Stoltman?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you could do that Stoltman Syrah that we had with the stinky cheese plate.
Stanky.
And if we start a band, I demand that it be called
Stinky Cheese Plate.
Yeah.
If it's called anything else,
if that's not a jam band,
that's a great. Yeah.
That's a 17-minute version of All Along the Watchtower.
Yeah.
So just FYI.
With 17 members. Yeah.
Got my bongo solo for 2 whole minutes.
Yeah, we're doing classical gas on the PVC pipes. So It is drawn out. Yeah, it's $25-$30. It's a great Syrah. I think this is very well done. It drinks well now. It'll drink well in 5 years, so it'll age. So the movie Ghostbusters. This is an iconic movie of the 80s.
This is an iconic movie of the podcast. I feel like this podcast. This is a. I don't know. I feel like this is like a big, like towering movie for this podcast.
It is, for sure. And I mentioned that somewhere in this. It's like, this is Pulp Fiction was a big part of my teen years. Again, this is our third bottle.
Bottle.
Pulp Fiction was a big part of my teen years. Ghostbusters was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
This was a huge presence. This is one of my most quoted movies. All of these movies we're doing are very quotable. I've quoted this movie as much as any other movie I've ever seen. This was released June 8th, 1984.
It's my mom's birthday.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
This was 40 years ago.
Wow.
This was directed by Ivan Reitman, who also directed Stripes, Meatballs, and Twins, which we've done.
Yep.
It was co-written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, who co-star in the film. This grossed $300 million against a $30 million budget.
It's not a bad return rate.
No.
It's not too shabby.
This was the highest grossing movie in the United States the year it came out, just ahead of Beverly Hills Cop. And the third movie was Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom.
Wow.
Temple of Doom ranked third?
Mm-hmm. Behind two comedies.
Man.
Think about that.
Yeah.
The background of this movie has become somewhat legendary, that the role of Pete Venkman was originally written for John Belushi.
All right.
But yeah, he died before the movie could go into production. Winston Zeddemore was originally imagined as a bigger role for Eddie Murphy, and he passed on the role for whatever reason, and so they downsized it and gave it to Ernie Hudson and kind of reimagined that as a blue-collar guy, which I think works really well.
I think it works, yeah.
We'll get to that later, but it's like, it's great. These movies work really well when they have like an everyday guy who can kind of translate what's going on into English, or that the main characters have to like.
He's the foil that has to kind of like come in and.
I don't understand what this is.
I don't know what you're talking about with these ghosts.
Yeah, it's the Han Solo character. That's why Star Wars, like the original trilogy, works so well with Han Solo, where it's like you got all these Jedis and Sith and whatever. It's like you got the guy who's like, I don't believe in any of this stuff. You know, just give me a blaster. And
just give me a blaster.
I just want to get paid.
Yeah.
You know, he's your everyday guy.
So was the original role supposed to be like a founding member who is like a little bit more invested in the ghost mythos?
Yeah. He was definitely supposed to be a bigger part of the team. And as such, they kind of reimagine him as the Ringo who comes in at the end and is just your everyday dude.
No.
You know, but
how dare you talk about Ringo like that?
But I have this in my notes that every team needs a Ringo. You know, it's like there's a reason why the Beatles fired Pete Best, hired Ringo, and became big. You got to have a Ringo.
Which Golden Girl is a Ringo?
That's tough. Man, that's tough.
There's no Ringos in that group.
There really isn't. There's not a. They're kind of the Golden Girls are kind of a collection of Lennons and McCartneys.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
They're all strong.
Yeah.
There's not a weak link. Moving on. Ghostbusters is something of a new phenomenon of a big budget, like specially constructed blockbuster movie with special effects. But it was also a comedy. It was meant to have laughs, and so it worked on both fronts as a big budget movie that was also funny. Yeah. You didn't see a whole lot of those at that time period. Again, as I've said for these other movies, if you don't know the plot of the movie, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, this is such a famous movie. If you haven't seen it, I don't know what kind of cave you've been in.
But unlike Pulp Fiction, I can describe to you the plot of Ghostbusters. Like I can, in a few sentences, I can tell you the plot of Ghostbusters.
Well, it's like the elevator pitch, like the log line of like, if you can sum it up in like one or two sentences. It's like,
yeah, I can't do that for Pulp Fiction.
No, it's tough.
Yeah.
Part of the charm of the movie. It's like, for this one, it's like three paranormal scientists figure out a way to trap and incarcerate ghosts in New York City. They form a privatized law enforcement and containment agency for supernatural phenomena. And that's pretty much it.
Ghost cops.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, the team is led by Pete Venkman, who's a sarcastic paranormalist, played by Bill Murray. Ray Stantz, who is nerdier, goofier, played by Dan Aykroyd. Egon Spengler is played by the late and great Harold Ramis, who is a little bit more reserved, a little bit geekier, but self-assured nerd. And Winston Zeddemore is the blue collar, everyday proxy for the audience. He is us, by and large. Like, we are Winston in the movie. And then you have a lot of colorful supporting characters like Andy Potts as the secretary. You have William Atherton as Walter Peck, who is the... and Sigourney Weaver, who is Bill Murray's love interest.
She's smoking in this movie.
And it's funny to see, because it's like, she, to me, provides scale for the height of the actors, because she has talked about how she got fired from a Tom Cruise movie because she was tall.
Too tall.
She's 6 feet tall.
Is she 6 feet tall?
She's 6 feet tall. So that tells you how tall all the other actors are in this movie.
Huh. Yeah, because Tom Cruise is what, 5'6"?
Yeah, ish.
A respectable 5'6".
Yeah. And I remember like hearing that they had to dig a hole for Sigourney Weaver to stand in, and it still didn't.
Gosh. Yeah.
And when we've never done Top Gun, I don't believe, for this podcast. We did Maverick, but it's like how they had Kelly McGillis walking like behind Tom Cruise
in a trench
to make them look like they're the same height.
Yeah.
You can see it when you're watching. You can't unsee it. But yeah, you got Rick Moranis, who's awesome as the Keymaster, Vince Glortho, or Lewis. Just the ultimate nerd. It's awesome. He's a scene-stealing presence.
I am the Keymaster.
I mean, his gibberish about when he hosts his client party about, Ted and Annette Fleming.
Yeah.
It's like they're drawing a deferred bonus from 2 years ago from a car cleaning business and went to receivership and yada yada. It's like this.
But they're doing all right.
Yeah. It's like about 600 milligrams of acetylsalicylic acid. I get the same price as you get for 300 milligrams of the main name brand stuff. So it's like, we're okay. It's just beautiful. Anyway,
try the smoked salmon.
That's from Nova Scotia.
It's from Nova Scotia, $24.95 a pound, but I got it for $14.63 a pound.
I'm gonna save you. Okay, so for me,
but don't worry, this is a write-off because these are all clients.
And you had Casey Kasem's wife playing the blonde girl at the party. It's like, I'm going home. It's like, well, maybe
we'll dance.
Maybe we just
do some
dance.
break dancing.
Okay.
Play a Disco Inferno in the background. It's like, okay, who brought the dog? So obviously this is a 10 for me. If any movie that we've ever podcasted has ever been a 10, this is a 10. For the context of nostalgia, this is like a 14.
Oh yeah, for nostalgia, it just keeps going up. I mean, just add points every time I watch it.
My childhood doesn't function without Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So there is a break point for me that this is a little bit less of a nostalgia movie. This is a little bit before my time.
If you have Sean talking about how much younger he is.
Listen.
On your bingo card.
You can't avoid it because it wasn't part of my childhood. By the time I came around, this Ghostbusters had been monetized so much.
Yeah.
Like it was the cartoon. I think it was like a WB cartoon or
That's
whatever.
the real Ghostbusters or whatever.
Yeah. Like that was my introduction to Ghostbusters. It was not this movie. It was like the cartoon version of Ghostbusters where it's like Slimer was like a part of the gang.
Yeah.
Like they were all just goofing around in
Which is okay. I remember watching that too.
Which is fine. It was good. Yeah. But like this movie, I came to this movie after the fact.
Which is sad.
It is, but
you can't help it.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
I was born in 1990.
Again, if you have that for your drinking game, go ahead and take a drink.
Just take a sip. Take a little sip.
So, from your different perspective, coming at this from decades later, what would you give it?
It's still a 10. I mean, it's a 10 movie. I just don't have the nostalgia bump.
Yeah.
You know? It's a great movie. It's well written. It's tight.
Mm-hmm. It's a tight 10.
It's a tight, like, this is like an hour and 45-minute movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I love a short, just perfect little comedy.
Yeah.
Great cast. I can't imagine anybody but Bill Murray in this role.
Same. Yeah.
I'm sure John Belushi would have done great, but it's like, I mean, they obviously reworked this role for Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is one of the definitive Bill Murray parts.
100%.
He owns it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know about you guys, but when I think of Bill Murray movies, Ghostbusters is the top of the list.
In Ghostbusters 2, I mean, I conflate this movie and Ghostbusters 2. I try to you kind of have to pull them apart a bit in my memory. But like his role in Ghostbusters 2 is a little bit like, okay, he's like hosting a TV show now. He's like a little bit slimier. He's a little bit more like, because he's the guy that like believes in it, but doesn't really buy into it. Mm-hmm. You know, he's
also kind of a proxy for the audience of like, are we in this?
He's doing it for profit more than he's doing it for. Even in the first movie, he's doing it to try and get into this intern's pants. You know?
Yeah.
You know, he's just trying to like. I was gonna say 8 o'clock. What? That's crazy.
Right in the middle of something here, Ray.
I'm sorry, this is just not your day. Bunch of wavy lines.
75 more to go.
A couple of wavy lines.
I'm sorry.
This is just not your day.
And it's like, to me,
what are we studying anyway?
it's great because, you know, it fits into the thing what they say about great writers show and bad writers tell. And it's like they show you how Venkman is without really spelling anything out. It's like he's conducting an experiment, quote unquote, with a good-looking, you know, good-looking blonde girl, and then a nerd. And he's like just shocking and just electrocuting the weeb. Never shocks the blonde girl, and then makes a date with her after. It's like that tells you everything you know about Venkman in one scene.
Yeah,
you're set up for the whole movie with him from then on. And then you got, you know, Dan Aykroyd storming in. It's like, this is it. This is definitely it. It's like they write the characters perfectly from scene one.
Yeah.
It's like you know how they're going to act. So
that's true.
It's great writing.
Yeah.
And some of that obviously is Bill Murray's improv, but it's like you get a good idea. And it's like you see them in the library and the scene after that. It's like they have such great chemistry with each other. It's like they're just naturally funny together.
Yeah.
They just work.
And this is a Harold Ramis script, right?
And Dan Aykroyd, yeah.
And Dan Aykroyd, yeah.
But supposedly a lot of Bill Murray stuff, they just kind of let him go and let him improvise a lot of stuff. So
how can you not? I mean, young Bill Murray, peak of his career,
prime Bill Murray.
Because Caddyshack was what, 79,
late 70s,
80ish, yeah, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
So yeah, you had that. He was one of the because it's like Chevy Chase was the first breakout SNL guy.
Yep.
Bill Murray was the second one. He followed up. He was the replacement for Chevy Chase. He became the second guy, and so they started doing like Meatballs, Caddyshack. I mean, they did a lot of stuff for him after that. Stripes,
yeah.
And so by
Stripes 82,
somewhere around there, yeah. Okay. And it's like by the time Ghostbusters came out, he was already an established star. He was a big deal. And so it was big enough that they could build the Pete Venkman role around him. They could rewrite it to fit his personality.
Yeah. Because when did Belushi die?
82.
82?
Yeah. Of a Speedball.
R.I.P.
Which,
ties back to our Pulp Fiction episode.
Yeah. Which, again, it's like that inspired Robin Williams to go into rehab because they were hanging out that night. So, there you go. But yeah, Belushi and Aykroyd were best buddies, and so they crafted thinking that he would be Venkman, the kind of the sarcastic guy. And so, you know, Bill Murray was the next choice.
Perfect in this role.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody else as Venkman. It works so well.
I'm always so curious about this because I know we've probably talked about this film 1,000 times in other podcasts, but I'm always curious now, like, yes, it was in 84, but you're looking at 2004 and 24 now. How is this film perceived as like someone who's never watched it before, but is now like, let's say in film school?
Yeah.
So where you've like, if you're just like, hey, I'm a sophomore year, I'm taking all my film classes. Well, I have 2 Ghostbuster movies to go off of. I'll have recent ones, and then I can go, you know, I'm just curious, like, how would this translate now? I know, and being in a film school, you know, you're probably used to some of the classics. Like, how would someone at this age, you know, like as maybe, or even a child, as like as we watched it, you know, I wonder how they would react to this now with all this stuff that's going, you know, like technology, you know, different types of comedies now. I wonder, kids our age, because I mean, I don't even know when I would have seen it, because if it was 84, I was 1 year old, but I know that I saw it in early on as a kid. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I remember the cartoon as well. Yeah. And I was like, man, this is so awesome. This is so funny. I wonder how that holds up today. Like a classic, iconic film that I believe has been able to stand up for, you know, the 30 years.
What I would throw out there, and again, from my limited experience as a parent, is like how, you know, obviously my kid loves Paw Patrol. He loves all the new stuff that's out. Yeah. He loves the Sonic the Hedgehog movies that came out in the last couple of years. But if I throw up an episode, like a classic episode of DuckTales, he's hooked on it. Yeah. I mean, he is taking the thing. It's like
DuckTales is a classic.
Yeah. And so it's like good stuff is just good stuff. I mean, he loves it's traditional animation. It's not CGI.
Yeah. Also, theme song. absolute banger.
I mean, it's like it catches attention. Yeah, it's like he will sit and watch DuckTales.
Yeah.
And he's like literally like coming like, well, look at this. It's like he's very excited. So it's like, I think that, you know, good stuff like this will catch people's eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, a good movie is a good movie.
Yeah, it's like classics are classics for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always kind of think of that where it's just like, man, I love this film. And like, it continues to grow on me every time I see it.
Yeah.
And I actually appreciate it more as an adult, maybe because it goes back to a nostalgia feeling.
I absolutely appreciate it more as an adult.
But it was only in the last, and I probably said it in thousands of podcasts before, there was a time of my age when like I just started listening to the dialogue and like seeing how the actors interacted. And I find this movie so much more funny when, you know, it's at the very beginning when they talk about, hey, we're going to do this. And he was just like, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd are sent there with some pint of something, some liquor, some brandy,
some
whatever.
kind of hooch. I looked really close.
I know. We've tried to investigate what it is. And he was just like, you know, what are we going to do? And he's like, I don't know. And it's just these little bitty actions that I just find so hilarious.
You've always been in college. You've never been in the private sector.
I have. It's just like they expect results. It's just like,
I loved that line.
and again, and I've said it, and I expect results. I know I've said it before, but my favorite line in this film, and it wasn't until I got older, was when they're in the mayor's office, they're going after everything, and he was like, well, you know, everything was fine until Dickless here, and he was like,
this is my favorite line.
Is this true? And he was like, yes. This man has no dick. And it's just the straight face.
Well, that's what I heard.
And it was like, well, that's what I heard. And it was like that scene, because as a child, I did not get it. But the older I've gotten, I cannot stop dying laughing because like it's just the whole scene. He's so calm, collected. And I'm like, guys, I watch the actors more and more now, and I just love that scene every time.
And I love it. I love Bill Murray's face when, because again, it's like William Atherton, who's also the dickhead in Die Hard. He's also the same guy. He's the asshole bureaucrat.
He plays it well.
Yeah. I mean, he got typecast, and literally he comes up to the mayor with Bill Murray standing there. It's like, I can't believe you're seriously considering listening to these men. I love Bill Murray's face.
Yeah.
I'm just like kind of looking. I was like,
I mean, yeah, and again, like a small character or the villain in there besides the ghost. It was like he plays. I mean, he really does bring it in.
Yeah.
Like, he brings you into hating him almost as like, what are you exactly a doctor of, Mr. Venkman?
May I please see the storage facility? And it's like, I love it during that scene in the city hall where they cut to where it's like Bill Murray's like, you know, Lenny, you will save the lives of millions of registered voters. And then they cut to the priest. The priest is nodding like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just perfect.
I know. It was like, and that's where I kind of judge like the great films. Like later on when I rewatch them, I'm just like, I pick up on these. There's like something new every single time. Mm-hmm. Or even when I watch like the facial reaction, because sometimes you're just hearing the joke, hearing the dialogue, you're watching the background or whatever. Mm-hmm. When you actually watch these actors, just like, damn. These dudes are actors, man, and they're like they pull you into it.
So much.
I think my favorite line is, Ray, if someone asks you if you are a god,
you say
yes.
And that whole scene, like, you know, when even like, and I know that some things have probably been rebooted or re-edited, you know, whatever, but it was like, it's still not a bad graphic.
No.
Yeah. And it was like, and Stay Puft, I mean, I had the little Stay Puft. Yeah. I had the little fluffy Stay Puft man.
I just love Dan Aykroyd's delivery. It's like, we used to roast Stay Puft marshmallows. Yeah, we'll go on to like, every year. And then Bill Murray's like, Ray has gone bye-bye. Gone.
Yeah. Which is something we also say a lot. Ray's gone bye-bye.
It's like, nobody steps on a church in my town. It's like, literally, this is one of the most quotable movies ever made. And that's how you know it's greatness.
You remember I told you not to cross the streams? Mm-hmm. Cross the stream.
Cross the stream.
And this Mr. Stay Puft's okay. He's a sailor. He's in New York. We get this guy laid. We got no problem.
Yeah. It's, again, you said, like, the classics will remain a classic forever. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think this film is just, to me, is one of my top films. And I think mainly because, and this is not a knock on like a Pulp Fiction or Blazing Saddles, but I think it can continue on with like different generations. Yeah. And it was like, you know, you could probably nitpick what we were talking about, like the dialogue in both those other films. Mm-hmm. But this one is like, besides Dick innuendos here and there. It's like
It's a pretty PG movie.
It's a PG film, and I think that's almost why I almost love it more. It was like because it's like they in the Disney films in the 90s, there was always these kind of like double entendres. They make the adults that are going there, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel like, oh, I get this joke. My kid doesn't. That to me is Ghostbusters, even though I don't think it was kind of meant for that.
No.
Like it wasn't meant to be like, oh, we have these hidden messages.
It didn't mean to.
It's just funny. Yeah, exactly. It's just funny. So I was like, and I think that's why I just love it so much.
My son's 4. I think he's about 2, maybe 3 years away from doing and I guarantee you he will love it.
Yeah.
And will want to watch it over and over and over.
It's not like a weird like slice of time movie where you go back and you think like, oh, this is so dated.
Right.
The slices of New York that you see don't, other than the fact that a symphonic cellist can afford an apartment like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a pretty like timeless movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can go back and watch it and it doesn't feel like this was weird. That would never work today.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
It captures the flavor of New York kind of.
Yeah. The slice of time New York. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was she first year? I can't remember.
I don't think they ever specified. Other than
the guy was one of the greatest celloists.
Something.
I can't remember what he's like. Oh, he
very pale, though.
He happens to be one of the. I can't remember what it was.
Sorry to get to meet you, sir.
Yeah.
I think you were the best in your row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. It's like that's another movie. It's like I've got memorized.
Yeah,
I really do. I've seen it so many times.
And that's a movie too where it's like I don't want to get up. Yep. Like if it's on, I'm like, oh well.
Oh, it's so.
I want to see this scene. I was like, and again, like I said, a $1.45 in length, and it was like, and there's not a lot of downtime.
It's
like
tight $1.45.
And it's funny because it's like I know that for kids, they want to repeat things over and over and over and over and over because there's a comfort to it.
Yeah.
When you're developing so fast and everything's changing around you.
Which was a lot harder back in the day when you had to rewind a movie.
Exactly.
Or that VHS out.
But the thing that I observe is obviously I think that also can apply for everybody. Like you say, it's like you see this, it's like it's still a comfort movie.
Yeah.
As an adult.
Yeah.
Even the Pulp Fiction or whatever, Blazing Saddles, like you want to keep watching it when it pops on. Yeah. So even as a grown-up, it's still a comfort movie.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It still has that, that familiarity.
Yeah.
Of I can quote it, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I love the quotes.
Oh, yeah.
I love whatever scene we're in. It's like it just makes, even I've seen it before, I know what's coming, I still laugh.
Yeah.
So that's a sign you're watching a classic.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much the 3 movies we've covered for this little recording block are all classics.
100%. Did this writing duo do anything else?
No, they did these 2 Ghostbuster movies, and it's like they didn't do a whole lot after.
Okay.
So
and then who produced this? Because I know the producer of this movie went on to do a lot of big stuff.
Was Ivan Reitman.
Okay, yeah.
So
and Ivan Reitman also did Animal House?
Yeah, he produced. I don't know if he directed. That might have been John Landis, but he was definitely involved.
Okay.
Harold Ramis wrote it.
Yeah,
or co-wrote Animal House. And then Ivan Reitman did Dave, the political comedy we talked about, potentially doing for our next presidential series. And then Ivan Reitman did Junior with Schwarzenegger, where Schwarzenegger has a baby.
Yeah.
And he did Kindergarten Cop, Twins.
Chad.
So. Yeah, he was a big director in his time.
He had a great era. Mm-hmm. Very much coincided with cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Neck and neck.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Him and cocaine, just like...
Yeah.
The correlation coefficient.
Yeah. It was an 8-ball.
Yeah.
8-ball time. So it's 10 for everybody. So
we're not even questioning that.
So all 3 movies we covered are all going to be.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you picked some heavy hitters.
Yeah. On purpose. These are movies that I really want to go back and watch.
Yeah.
So, and I have not regretted that choice.
I think the only other movies that we've hit that have been consensus 10s, Kill Bill, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Sandlot.
I don't even know what Sandlot
was. Yeah. There haven't been many movies where it's like this is just a solid. Jaws, maybe. I remember Jaws, despite the controversy around Jaws and some of the stuff behind the scenes. But
right,
yeah,
we all know about Jaws.
But this has been another episode of Cinemavino.
Yeah.
Again, 3rd bottle of wine.
Yeah. I've had 10 of it all.
I don't apologize. Got Taylor Owens.
Yo.
Got Sean Jordan.
Hey.
And my name's Todd Wofford. Great movies, only drunker. And for you guys, the next movie will be Blazing Saddles, and that'll be a good episode because we've already done it. We've already recorded.
We were sober when we recorded that one.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be good stuff.
Chapter 2.
Yeah.
3, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. We will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.